Are you a CEO? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you aspiring to be an entrepreneur or CEO? If any of those questions apply to you, you definitely want to tune in as we have a panel of CEOs to answer those questions, as well as how do you prioritize? How do you balance all of the roles in your life? And how do you run a successful business? What does it take? Stay tuned. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, y'all, come on in. We have an amazing panel of mental health professionals today for you all. These ladies are CEOs, they're licensed professional counselors supervisors, but most of all, they are women who are dedicated to prioritizing their mental health and their self-care. We'll be right back. Do you have a story to tell? Wait. We all have a story to tell. If you are ready to tell your story as it relates to your mental health and the journey, the struggle, the management, the awareness, the lack thereof, we want you at Am I Crazy with LaShasta Bell. And what about sponsorship? Oh, thanks for asking. Because there's also the opportunity for sponsorship. Do you have a product? Do you have an event that you want to shout to the world? If so, check out our sponsorship. Same place as the guest form. See you soon. So thank you for joining us for part 2 of our panel. In part 1, we decided to share with you guys our journey into the mental health field, as well as how we're doing with our mental health with all that's going on. Today, we want to pivot and focus on entrepreneurship, women in power, because we are in Women's History Month, and let's just know, we have some women here that's making history. So stay tuned, dig in, power in, whatever you need to do. Pause along the way to take notes, because we are about to deliver to you some of the things that have worked really well for us as entrepreneurs over the years. So ladies, CEOs and such, collars popped and such, when you think about it, because I know for me, I never envisioned owning a business, definitely not 2 businesses, right? And it's like, oh, some days I wake up and like, you doing this, like you doing this. So on your journey to entrepreneurship, what were some of your like ahas or some of like, not me moments in this journey so far?
Yeah. I can say for me, again, just like you, I never ever dreamed that I would be an entrepreneur and have 2 private practices here in the Houston area, right? It was truly a work of God, yet again. He was like, psst, guess what? You're going to do some more, right? And I'm like, man, that's okay though. You probably meant that to the left. That wasn't for me. But things started to fall into place, right? As I maybe made this decision, and we went, my partner and I at the time, we went from meeting and having a conversation in December to opening our doors in May. And it just, boom, it just fell into place, right? And so then began the faith walk of, are people really gonna come and talk to me? Right? Because do I know what I'm talking about? And that was huge to see that growth. And I think the big aha moment for me was in realizing that I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. I just needed to be me. Right? Counseling's been around. People have private practices. There are notes that you can get and books and seminars and whatever on how to build a private practice. Mine was going to be unique because it was mine. Right? I could just be Jenai, and that people actually wanted. Who would have known? Mm-hmm. I didn't know.
Look, right. I can remember when I started, I had this whole, I'm not putting a picture of me anywhere. because for so long, people just want, are you pretty?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, but I'm smart. Can smart go first? So I had promised myself, like, we're not putting pictures anywhere. And so I was like, well, maybe just one. And so my little second cousin, about 5 years old, took this picture of me. And I'm like, that's cute. We're going to use that one. Right. And one of my clients that I've been with for years, I've saw her through teenage years and now young adult, saw that one picture. Wow. And that was my, like, okay, you have to pivot personally. Like your personal stuff, your personal baggage, you're going to have to check that at the door because you can't bring that into business.
Right.
Not the baggage, but the good character traits, the essence of us, yes, but that baggage. So I was like, okay, all these complexes and insecurities and what is that? My mind fades. Not guilt, but when we
Imposter.
That's it. Imposter syndrome. Thank you, Danielle. Danielle keeps saving me, y'all. Keep saving me. Imposter syndrome when I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
All of that it had to be checked in order for business to thrive. And part of that checking was getting business coaches and getting in therapy, you know, like doing the work on myself as an individual and continuing to do the work so it wouldn't impact business.
Yeah.
You know, so that was one of my early on aha. You gotta do you, but you can't do you with the bags. Not those bags. We don't want the cha-ching bag. Not the yes. What about and these two ladies have a special unique partnership and individualship. So tell us about that.
Well, Danielle and we met each other in a Facebook group. In your Facebook group. It was yours. In your Facebook group. And it was
it started off as like an email group. And then it went to maybe GroupMe.
To GroupMe. And then to
and then
Facebook.
It went to Facebook.
And it was at a time when I had just moved to Houston, so I was reestablishing my private practice here. And Danielle was thinking about starting a private practice, or maybe she was in the beginning stages. And so also it was in a time socially where there was a lot of unrest in the country, Black bodies being killed. And so we were collectively supporting each other as a community, as a Black community. And so we're in this Facebook group and we're reaching out, sharing resources. I know this, and let me tell you this. You don't have to start from the ground zero, like you said. And then I think with my private practice, I was on certain insurance panels, and Danielle was on others. She worked with kids, I worked with adolescents, and we were just, anytime I had something going on, she would come and support and vice versa. And then she was like, you know what? I'm on these panels, you're on that one. If we come together, form a group, we on all of them.
Come on now.
So just sharing resources that come freely. A lot of times the people gatekeep and hold and hoard stuff that is free, or they tell you, Google it, and you don't have a starting point. And one thing that Danielle and I shared was we have a heart for our community, for our families, and our people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that was our link.
It just warms my heart because here's the thing, the group came out of the space of leaving education where I could, as a school counselor, I could pop into classrooms and things like that and have that community, to being a solo practitioner in an office space with no one that looked like me, no one that was near my age. And while they were helpful, there was no connection. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the school. And the Lord say, lies you tell. Right, like, we're not digressing. Like, I give you a problem, but you go back. No, you create a solution. And so that's where it came from. And so it's like, to me, it was my own selfish motives. Mm-hmm. But to see how we've just created community over and over again, it's just like, man, thank you, Lord, that I didn't go back.
Yeah, that group was a godsend. The community was too. Because like you, I didn't ever think that I was going to be in private practice. I started off, I was working for an agency. And it just wasn't clinical enough. It was case management. I mean, I could do case management, but that's not me. And I was like, well, let me go get some contract work with Shayna. And I went to Shayna's office, did the interview, and she was like, well, I'm gonna teach you how to do private practice. I was like, well, wait. I came in for a contract. She was like, no, you don't do this yourself. And then just from her support and the group support, it morphed into, okay, now I have a part-time private practice. And then she was like, okay, you're gonna get good at this and you're gonna like it and you're gonna leave your job. And I was like, girl, no, I'm not. And then a year later, I was leaving my job. Keona and I was like, well, I mean, we do some of the same things, so can you be my business assistant?
Right, so like a proposal.
Like, yeah.
Did she get out on one knee?
But it just made sense.
Right. And that's the amazing thing. Like you said, it makes sense because there are some who will be like, oh, we do the same thing, so we can't be together. Yeah. But the actuality of understanding that it's enough for everybody. Like we can all eat and get belly full. Because let's just be honest, in 2020, we all did some things differently that allowed us to thrive.
Absolutely.
You know, we all had to pivot in different spaces. You know, on the break, we were talking about how much success we saw, but moving differently. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about that. Because for me, I moved in my office space the weekend that COVID said, hey, Texas. And so there was like this beautiful space, but it was also double rent. And the utilities that I didn't have to pay before and things of that nature. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? You know, and here's the thing, to even get to this space, we had some sister friends that's like, their friends like, hey, come on, let's run these numbers because you need a bigger space. It's time for you to get out the space that you're in. And I'm like, okay, well, what are we gonna do now? And the good part is that we were set up for telehealth and things of that nature, but it took some pivoting and understanding like how to pivot and having that flexibility in my brain, right, where anxiety wouldn't run me over to do that pivot. So I know for me, going virtually was really hard because I felt like I'm a face-to-face therapist. I'm neurobiology and nervous system's got to integrate and blah, 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 blah. How you do that over a screen? And so once again, I think my theme has been putting your personal stuff to the side. Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, what are some things that you guys did in 2020 to help take care of your mental health, but that also was business related to help business thrive?
Well, we took a break. Practice was just on break because working with adolescents, we had like a school partnership a little bit before COVID happened, and we just had to kind of break to be able to manage ourselves, manage the practice. And so we just kind of took completely different directions and just put the practice, I guess you say on hold for a little bit, but taking more time out to build those foundations that we needed, because it was kind of like a blessing in disguise because a month later, COVID hit and the schools shut down completely. Wow. So it was a blessing. We took our time, we took our break. We're forming the practice to more of a sustainable feel, still addressing like kids and adolescents' needs, but that break that we tried to fight for so long, we eventually was like, okay, let's just shut things down. We reduced our caseloads, and then we just kind of moved forward.
And then when we came back, within like 2 weeks, we were full.
Like, so what y'all telling me is that the whole culture of grind it out, no sleep, hashtag, goals, grinding, you telling me that's a myth right now? Because what I just heard is like, we took a whole break, we shut it down, and when we decided to build it back up, open the doors, the floodgates said, shoosh.
Yeah, we took a whole year off. Practically almost a whole year off.
Who does that?
Yeah. Look, understand this for all the entrepreneurs out there, all the women out there, the grind is not grinding yourself to death. The grind is knowing the balance of when to pause, when to rest, when to take a break. And knowing that if what you have is for you, when you open it back up, you're going to be full in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And remember, I was texting. I was like, "Wait a minute."
And I told you, like, you playing with it. You got to be.
I didn't open up another day.
Yeah. I don't feel like open up that next day, please.
Right, because she's like, I'm gonna just do Fridays. And I'm like, hold on, that's like 3 whole slides. Why are you playing? Why are you playing right now? You know, so nice. Jenai, what about you?
I could say the difference maker for me and my businesses in 2020 was being able to open up and say, okay, we're going to shift and do this telehealth thing, right? I've got a staff underneath me that looks nothing like me. Right? I have one other speck of coloration in my practice, right? And I did that on purpose so that we can attract all different types of people, all different types of lifestyles, all different types of ages, right? But they were very concerned about transitioning to telehealth. I've had more staff than I had offices in my office. So that transition to telehealth allowed them to be like, oh, I'm going to work Tuesday morning and Tuesday night, when in the office they only had Tuesday morning, right? So just the idea of them being in control of their schedule. And I said, here, you see clients and you won't see clients. I don't care when it is, just make sure you good and they're good, right? Now I'm trying to be like, are y'all ever gonna come back to the office? Do I need to get rid of this space? Like, what are we doing? So coaching the team through that transition and allowing them to have some freedom in what their schedule looked like blew things up, right? And I'm, so grateful to have a team that was just willing to do that transition and that trusted me enough to lead them through it. So.
Nice. So we're going to take a quick little break. And when we come back, we'll share some of our system secrets and some of the things that we do as entrepreneurs consistently that has led to the success that we're experiencing. Be right back. We offer face-to-face and virtual counseling throughout the state of Texas. www.ichoosemecounseling.com. We back. So we are going to let you guys in, especially women, entrepreneurs, but this applies to all entrepreneurs actually, but we're in Women's History Month, and we are women. We're going to support the people. So we're going to chat a little bit about some of the things that we do, have done, continue to do that's successful, and we have been able to see the fruits of our labor. So we're just going to go around. Go ahead, Jenai.
Okay, well, I would say the one tool or tidbit that I can give is just make sure you streamline as much as you possibly can. And what I mean is have all your systems in one place as much as possible, right? I found myself going to this website to get this part of my business and going over here to get this part of my business. And my friends said, Jenai, I don't understand why you don't just use this over here because it's a whole lot. No. I know these things over here. I'm more comfortable over here, right? And now have found that I'm like, yeah, it's time. It's time to streamline in order to save time, save headache even, right? And just to be more efficient. So whenever you can streamline and make things simpler and have it all in one space, that has been a huge learning curve for me this year.
I'm glad you got it. Because I know you remember last year when we were at the conference and we like, really? He's like, it's going to take too much time, but it's going to save so much time. And so look, like many people during the pandemic, during 2020, had some time for some introspection.
We reviewed, I looked at things and understood the error of my ways, yes.
Just welcome aboard. So Danielle, Keona, what's been the thing for you guys, or things that you have seen already that are successful, that are new, that are old? What you got?
Yeah, you go.
Well, because we had our practice, we basically burned it down to the ground, shut down. Let's start and build it from the ground up. And what has worked for us, well, for us, in my opinion, has been being very organized. We went from we pulled out our calendars. We already for the first quarter, we said we're going to meet on these days, block out these times. This is designed for this purpose. I know on Fridays I see these amount of clients. It's blocked out, like a very specific purpose for my time. And what holds me accountable to that, because I can go take a nap and be done, but what holds me accountable is know that I have accountability with Danielle. Like, I need to do my part so that she can do her part so we can have a part in this. And so that has been my most helpful thing.
Along with the organization, you mentioned being purposeful, and I think we really put intention to our actions. Like being intentional with what we were going to do, like the goals that we have for ourselves, the activities, the tasks that we have for ourselves, and even the way we used our systems and our resources. And we really started to tap into the resources that we have in hand. Because for a while there, we had like the syndrome of following the pretty penny. And we was just kind of grasping on the things, hoping that it helped. But, you know, last year, we just cut all that out and just, this is what we have, the bare minimum. We make it work from that. And so we really started to be intentional with the things that we were using and just kind of building it up from there, from scratch, like a phoenix rise.
Like a phoenix just rise. Okay. Look how I follow that. But I think for me, 2020 and just even a little bit before 2020, the theme was source out. Just because I can do it all does not mean I need to do it all. When in humble beginnings, absolutely. I learned how to do the billing. I took the calls, I answered the emails. But as time progressed, if I'm the CEO and I'm still working in the business, doing everything, who's gonna work on the business? Where's the expansion? And so, you know, my business coach, who I gotta give a shout out to, I ain't gonna call her name, but she know who she is because she don't want all y'all ringing her phone. I'm just saying. She had to help me with that, to say, how much time could you be saving, or what could you be doing with this time if you weren't answering phone calls? Could you be taking meetings? Yeah. And it's like, absolutely. And what really did it for me is when I started being intentional about paying myself.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, I'm an expensive phone answerer. like, hello, I can't keep answering this phone at this rate. And granted, I'm not going to change my rate because I have a lot of education and experience. And I used to tell my kids, if you don't wash them dishes, it's going to cost you because I got 3 degrees, blah, 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 blah. I'm a high-rated dishwasher. And so I had to take that mindset into business. So when I'm answering calls, scheduling, answering emails, that I needed to source out. And some things I can contract out and some things I hire in. So like my therapist, I'm gonna hire them in. The person who's taking the calls, I'm gonna hire them in as employees because I need everybody under the same vision and same mission without any conflict. Yeah. But when I'm doing social media and doing other things, graphics, then I can contract that out. So that's been the biggest thing for me. Like, don't put your hand in everything and have it moving. Your hand can be over it, like, bless your child, and not be right here. I'm not shaking the baby. You know? So that's been, that was really big for me. So any other little tidbits that we want to drop about business and being CEOs, as far as it relates to like balance with our other roles as, you know, sisters and moms and friends and wives and girlfriends, and, you know, we carry like
so many roles,
like a roll of water rolls,
right?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for us was kind of having our practice reflect our goals and our values, and knowing that we don't have to do it like everybody else does it. And our practice needs to reflect us. And even though we knew and our practice has always reflected us, I think it was like a thought that it had to be run a certain way and it had to have certain components and things like that. But, you know, in 2020, we was just like, no, we're going to do it how we want to do it. You know, and we're going to follow what's, you know, inside of us and how we want to give. And have it just reflect that, and it's gonna do what it do, regardless.
Let it do what it do, baby. Oh, sorry. I love that. I love that too. Yes, that authentic parts of us.
Yeah. I was gonna say, as far as like the managing the different roles that we are so spread out to be, again, what works for me is setting, like, there's a time and a place where I'm supposed to be on, and there's a time and place I'm supposed to be off, and having people who understand that. So my kid at home Sometimes our mom hands-on, I'm here, and then she also understands when this door is closed, you already know what's happening on this side. Don't you knock on my door. But then even, just socially having friends and family members, they all know we've had come a long way through that, because for some people they say, you never show up for anything. I said, I can't show up for everything, but I can show up for something. So tell me what's a priority and then what's not. And so just having people in your life that, understand managing their expectations for you, and then you managing expectations for them. And that's the best that we could do. And just do it.
For sure.
Yeah. I have a really good friend of mine that told me that Jesus had boundaries too. So I had to remember that in this space, right? Like, yes, I'm growing. Yes, things are doing well. Yes, we're moving up. It's getting bigger. But when it's time to shut down, right? It's time to shut down. And how that's not neglecting my business, but more that's feeding me so that I can then feed the business that much more, right? And just understanding that boundaries are okay, whether it's with family, with friends, whomever, even boundaries with my employees, right? Like you can text, but don't anticipate you're going to get an answer until the next day, right? So having those boundaries has been really, really important. And when we're in such a space where we're getting pulled on so much more during this pandemic time, right, we could very easily give of ourselves consistently and constantly. But having those boundaries has been really important.
Y'all said it all. I'm just going to say ditto and ditto and ditto. Real talk. The boundary piece is, my no game is strong. I learning to say no and being okay with it, knowing that no is a complete sentence. Like you said, being okay with without not showing up for everything. Because I know, like, when your birthday weekend, even in COVID, we all made 40 last year. Not yet. not yet. But there, we was trying to create as much excitement, but I was exhausted. And being able to say, like, I love you, I'm there, I'm celebrating, but I'm exhausted, and knowing that it's not going to break the friendship. Yeah. That if anything, is like, I'm glad you rested. Like, right. I'm glad you better. And I think that, so having people around you that understand that you've taught them how to treat you, you respect their boundaries, they respect yours. So that's why I say it's like, that's been gold, that's been money.
Absolutely.
You got anything else you want to add? Non-40?
I think one of the biggest things that keeps coming up is kind of like this connection, the sisterhood you mentioned, and just having people around that you can, reach out to, that'll reach out to you if you they haven't heard from you in a minute, and they're just text, hey, how you doing? And then you do the same for them. That has been one of the biggest things that have helped, and I can say probably all of us is being able to have a support system, and even though we can't see each other all the time, talk all the time, we find ways to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, hey, you want to do this work week, this workout challenge? I don't challenge Jenai because she be working out too much. Like, she be burning all them calories. I'm like, we gonna do a competition 7 days. All right. And I'm up at 10 o'clock dancing. And Kevin like, what you doing? You got a challenge? Yep, I'm in this competition. I gotta move. So even those, something as small as that, where it doesn't take us communicating, it's just this accountability every day, but it generates laughter and fun, even with the person without them being there. So I think that you're dead on, Danielle, especially in this month of March, that women take time to connect with women, and especially women that share the same culture. And I'm not talking race, but commonalities of what you enjoy, what you love, how you love it as far as culture, and then looking at race and ethnicity and making those matches too, because with all that's going on with the social injustices and, like you said, Black bodies just falling everywhere, outright racism and white supremacy, like, we have to find a safe place because our everyday life no longer feels safe. Yeah. And so balancing the angst of that is tremendous. And I'm gonna let you say it best, because on the break, you you wrapped it up. Like how do we deal, period? Women, Black people, brown people, with the anxiety that comes up around, this blatant, persistent white supremacy.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, you go where you're celebrated, not just where you're tolerated. And I did not make that up. I don't know. I don't want y'all to think that was my thing.
It was good though.
I don't know where I've heard that, but it's been for years, and it's something that always stuck with me. It's, you just go and show up in places where you are celebrated, people who want you there, who need you there, versus where they just tolerate your presence. And so that has been my motto, my unspoken motto when I have to show up in places like, certain places like work or other places where I'm not really feeling it for whatever reason. I know this is not where I have to be, because where I'm going, it's about to be live. So
that's like you're about to be celebrated.
Right.
And that's good. And I think that resonated with all of us of like, yes, there are spaces that we may have to be in where we can feel that we are tolerated or barely tolerated. But knowing that, you know what, I have this safe place where I'm celebrated, I'm loved on, I'm laughed with, laughed at, all of that is what eased the angst of knowing that, okay, I have to go out and be in this environment and be in this space, but not for long. And it's kind of like anything. When we set a goal, when you're working toward it, it's like, like vacation. You start getting excited a month that you're getting ready to leave because you have something to look forward to. And I think that's a key way of decreasing or eliminating some of that anxiety around white supremacy. So whoever gave it to you, we appreciate them. And we even more appreciate you bringing it to us. So as we wrap, ladies, is there anything else that you want to share with our audience before we go?
No.
You don't have to have anything. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I think you said so much. I definitely appreciate the space being, here with you. Thank you for inviting me, for giving this space where I get to see. I haven't seen Jenai since like last year.
Ever.
Yeah. And so I count this as one of those community times that we need, that we need to come together. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful.
Absolutely. Gratitude takes us a long way, right? That's a whole nother show. So we appreciate you guys not just joining us for part 1, but also joining us today for part 2. We will have all the information that you need to be in touch with these lovely ladies, because there is the potential that they could be your mental health expert. Thank you, and be sure to catch us next week at same time, same place.